Oh, yeah. That's Monday. And welcome to the CXM Experience. I'm your host, Grad Khan, CXO at Sprinkler. And as always, today we're with Neha, our breath yogi, and we're going to talk about being human, having a good week, and all the challenges that we face every day. So, Neha, let's just chitty chat about stuff for a second here. I had a couple of really great experiences lately, and I wanted to share them. A couple of things I've been doing that have really sort of helped me. So I had knee surgery about 2 months ago.
Oh, I thought you had something.
Oh yeah, I had
thought you
face
had.
surgery a month ago. Yeah, no, every month I like
Okay.
to have someone cut some part of my body off. Yeah, no,
Oh
but
no,
it's my new thing.
that is not fun. We need you in
Gee,
one
what am I going
piece.
to have surgery on this week?
Oh
Yeah,
God.
no, yeah. I come pre-assembled and then just take me apart one by one.
Oh God.
I'm doing my
Oh,
other knee. I'm doing my other knee in the fall, and that's gonna be a really big deal. But this first knee
okay.
wasn't so bad. But anyway, but I had to start doing a lot of PT to kind of bring the knee back. And it's funny how an event will have a trigger effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing PT, and I started really enjoying kind of working out, and I was like, I got to get back into this because I just kind of it's just sort of slipped out of my life. And I used to do Pilates a lot. And so I found a Pilates studio. And when I say I found a Pilates studio, actually Sabrina, my world-class, world's most amazing executive assistant, found a Pilates studio for me. And she hooked me up.
Sabrina.
Sabrina's
Hmm.
amazing. Oh my God, I don't even know how I would live my life without Sabrina.
I hope you're
It's like,
listening to this, Sabrina.
I don't think she listens actually, because
Oh
I've talked about.
really?
Yeah, she never comments on them, so I don't think she actually listens to them. But Sabrina is the not just the best EA I've ever had. She's the best EA I've ever seen. Period. But
Wow.
she's one of the best
Uh-huh.
people I've ever met as well. So, okay, so Sabrina found this for me and hooked me up with this amazing Pilates instructor named Susan. And Susan has been doing it for a few years, but she's got that really good instructors. In my experience, I've been kind of doing Pilates for about a decade, or maybe a little bit longer than that. Maybe about 10, 15 years. And the really good ones are really conscious of your body position. Like they know exactly where to put you. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
like off by just a
Mm-hmm.
tiny bit, they'll correct that because you can actually hurt yourself quite a bit, or not get to the abs the way you need to get to the abs if your pelvic positioning's wrong and all that kind of stuff. And so she's amazing at that. And I've been going every single day. So I'm kind of got an hour
Wow.
of Pilates Monday through Saturday. I've never done
Wow.
that before. I've kind of done a couple times a week and stuff like that, but I've never done every day. And it's been amazing because it's so much breath focus and there's so much, and
Mm-hmm.
I could really feel the difference and the change. And so when I was in kind of just thinking to myself, maybe this week I've noticed just how much stronger I'm getting. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking to myself, what took me so long?
Hmm.
Let's talk about that for a second. Like we often know what we need or know what we want to do and even know what we like. Like I like Pilates. I've been doing it. I did it for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I get off course? Right. So I stopped. I know what happened. I moved to New York. Right. So I moved to New York. Well, everything got disrupted. It was like very difficult. So, but
Mm-hmm.
but then I couldn't get back on my track. And it's only
Mm-hmm.
interestingly that I moved to Florida that I'm sort of actually getting on track again, which is interesting. I don't know what that means about New York, but what is that? So let's talk about that a little bit. When people you must run into this all the time where people kind of are knowingly saying, I know I should be blank,
Mm-hmm.
but for some
Mm-hmm.
reason, and then suddenly there's a trigger event, which is sometimes unpredictable, and suddenly they're back in, right? And they're like, I can't believe I haven't been doing this
So I
all this
wasn't
time.
doing this. Yeah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk. I'd love to hear your experiences with that and some of the people that you coach.
Yeah, that is interesting you bring this up because it is true. All of us have those things that are nice to do that we'd like to do, but somehow keep getting pushed to the back and get into the background unless something happens that you can't ignore them anymore. So yeah, actually, in my experience, it's different for different people. For some, it could just be as simple as getting their priorities right, right? And for some, it could be real reasons like, oh, I had a surgery, so I couldn't do Pilates for 2 months. And then I had to find my way back slowly but surely, right? Like I'm doing PT, and there's so much that goes on more than just a physical level. If you go through something like that, right now your knee's injured, you have to recoup, and you have to go to PT. Like that's hard. Like this was a part of you that you had full control over. Now you kind of like at the mercy of someone and trying to get it back to normal strength. And then you do that, and it's taxing. It's not just taxing for your body, it's emotionally and mentally taxing, right? And
Well, it is emotionally taxing. I'll tell you something weird they did to me, and I'm not so sure about. I got to think this through for me before my next knee. So they don't put you under a general anesthetic anymore, just because generals are very
it's
dangerous.
localized.
Generally, so it's a local anesthetic, but they give you this drug, and it's referred to as the date rape drug. And what it does is it causes you to lose short-term memory. So you are awake, fully conscious, and actually conversing. And who knows what I said, right? And then, but you kind of don't remember it. And that's kind of how they do it now. So you're kind of like sort of unconscious because you can't remember it, but you're not actually unconscious. So they can get you to move around and do stuff and all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of like just wrap your head around that for a second.
Wow, yeah, that's
okay. So
I
I'm kind of like generally is sort of slightly weirded out by that, but I'm kind of like okay, except for one thing that I am not enjoying, which is I cannot remember I'll give you a caveat in a second, but I can't remember. I couldn't remember the surgery consciously. Okay, but I'm a big dreamer. I dream a lot. I have very vivid dreams and very, very detailed dreams. And I do remember the surgery in my dreams.
Wow.
That's
interesting.
So it's like when I'm sleeping, that's when I'm sleeping. It's like I keep waking up on the surgery table. It's not a good experience. Like I'm and now I'm actually consciously beginning to remember it, I think, because like my dreams are informing my conscious mind about what actually went on. It's not good.
No, I hear you.
Maybe I'll just stay conscious next time. Maybe I don't want that. I mean, I'll just like I think I'd rather almost not, because this like kind of particle memory thing, what is always kind of with it, just an element of being like in a horror movie. This is not,
not fun.
Not
that
fun.
Doesn't sound,
it is not
that
fun.
doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
but
not that I want a general.
Point,
Generals
like,
are really dangerous, but my gosh, this is anyway. So
I mean, you
react
could
to
still
that
have local anesthesia. I mean, so two things, right? Like this thing that you brought up about emotions being at the core. So there's this whole cycle of like how we feel informs how we think, and how we think informs how we act.
Right.
And then how we act again makes us feel a certain way, right? So if we feel hungry, the emotion is hunger, we have this thought that, oh, I should go and eat. And then you go take that action, you eat your food, and then you feel full. And then you feel full, you say, okay, I think I need to stop eating. And then you stop eating. Do you see this loop? So actually, how we act is definitely determined by how we're feeling. So coming back to our key sort of question that we started out with, why do we procrastinate, or why do people get off things that they really think that they should be doing? Somewhere like that's emotional awareness, right? That's emotional intelligence, being aware of what am I acting, like what am I saying, what am I doing? And that's sometimes it's very different from what people say and what people do, because it comes back to neuroscience and even that whole point about dreams, because when you go back to the dreaming state, right? So there are 4 states of consciousness: the awake state, the dreaming state, the sleep state, and then the 4th state is what we call the meditative state, or there's a Sanskrit word for it. But in the dream state, the mind is actually working. The brain is like classifying information into different parts of your brain, there's something called the glymphatic system, which is really going to work and getting all those toxins out of the brain, and the brain is refiling and reorganizing all the the information. So you have very lucid dreams, and it's like, okay, what do I do with this? What do I do with this operating table memory?
Yeah. Oh my
and
God.
I think I think a little bit of hypnotherapy or EFT might come in handy. And
Well, I did
be able to
my
sort
the
of
face. I just had face surgery too, and that I did fully conscious. I did nothing for that,
Are
and
you
so that it's
serious? Like fully conscious that to face surgery? Won't you
yeah.
like freaking out? Oh my God.
Well, actually, it's funny. I was freaking out a little bit, and he was funny because the plastic surgeon, you could see I was a little bit nervous because he like had
Uh-huh.
he walks in the room with a needle that he's like literally carrying in two hands, like it's this giant.
God. Oh
like,
my God. Oh
and he's
my
like, he starts
God.
to wave it near my face, and I'm like, holy
Bigger than your face.
smokes.
Oh no.
And so that
Oh.
was kind of like freaking me out a little bit. It was also kind of happening a little quickly, and he could see I was like a little thrown off, and he goes, "Hey, calm down." And takes his hand, he puts it on my forehead like I'm a dog, and he pushes my head back, and he goes, "Calm down, calm down." And I'm like, and I thought to myself, "Hey, this is kind of working. It's kind of weird. I'm kind of calming down."
So you
And
do
then he
know
sticks this like giant, like almost like comedy-sized needle, like it was like something out of like
Oh
a
God.
Looney Tunes cartoon. He puts this into my face, and then I said, I don't know. I think I can still feel it. And he goes, "Can you feel this?" And I'm like, "No, I can't feel that." And he goes, "Well, I just stuck like my knife into your face. If you didn't feel that, you're not feeling anything." I'm like, "All right." And then he says, "Well, I
Oh
got to cut it
God.
open." And then he just like, proceeds to cut like 3 inches of hole in my face. Anyway, it was that. So that I will say that memory is slowly displacing the knee dreams. So I was like,
Oh God.
so I just have to
That
keep
is
coming
some
up with like
intense stuff.
interesting, yeah, just kind of just intense surgeries with like higher levels of consciousness each time, and I'll forget about the other ones. But I do find one of my favorite things to do is I like to sleep. I like to break my sleep up. So apparently humans didn't used to sleep 8 straight hours, right? Like the originally what we used to do is we used to typically go to sleep kind of when it got dark. And then we would often wake up in the middle of the night, which is where the expression nightlife comes from. And then people would go out and do things and then go back and sleep again and then get up when it was light again. And so I've been doing that now for years, and it's pretty fun because I kind of have like my own little party in the middle of the night, and then I go back to sleep again. And I find that my dreams in the second half are amazing. Like I'm literally excited to go to sleep and see what dreams I'm going to have. I have these crazy dreams in the second half. Whereas in the first half, when I tend to be more exhausted, I don't tend to dream the same way or as much, right? So I find that if I can get some sleep, take a break, and then go back to sleep, I get a really great sort of dream sleep. And I enjoy that. And that to me is a form of consciousness because there's stuff I learn or things that I do in that stage, which is always fun. So anyway, so I
I mean,
don't know
and
that
the crazy
means anything,
thing.
but-
No, I mean, and the crazy thing is I never remember my dreams ever. Like in my whole life so far,
Really?
maybe one or two dreams. So I just don't. And I think there are ways, sleep experts can help you remember them, but they're like, "Are you sure you want to remember your dreams?" So I usually, I'm like, I don't remember my dreams at all. So
I
it's
create
kind of
whole
weird that
worlds in my dreams. Like whole worlds.
Wow, nice.
Like it's the best.
And do
It's
you
like
like wake
entire
up?
other existence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you still wake up refreshed? Like, do you feel
No, yeah,
refreshed
no.
after?
It's like I've got another life going on. It's great. It's like amazing.
Oh, maybe so. Which one's
It's another
real,
dimension.
Brad?
Yeah.
Which one's real? Is this the dream or is that the dream?
Yeah, well, yeah. Generally, I prefer this particular reality, but sometimes the dreams are pretty cool. So, or you're working on stuff too in your dreams, right? Like, I had one dream where I got a chance to live my life over again. I made a whole bunch of different decisions, and then things turned out
Wow.
differently, but not necessarily better. It was a really interesting way of dealing with some sort of decision angst I've had recently, and so it was great. I must like my favorite thing to do now is to have those. But let's talk
So
a
you're
little
like
bit
a
about
visual
this.
thinker.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this sort of thing where people know they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, but they do it anyway. I find that fascinating. This sort of, there's this, I don't know if you and I talked about this or it came up some other time, but there's this like animal brain that we
Mm-hmm.
have, and then and then sort of very reactionary and very sort of instinctive. Then we've got this intellectual brain, which is the one that tends to
Mm-hmm.
argue with itself all the time, tends to know what's going on. And then we have this intuitive brain, which is kind of like, the one that makes leaps and often is the inventive brain, or the one that comes up with new ideas. And I think we don't tend to spend as much time in intuitive as we'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to be controlled often more by the animal than we should be. And then the intellectual is always kind of sitting there and trying to navigate between the two. And I think as we're more tired, I think animal brain drives us more.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I've never had, I'm not going to say this person's name, but I had a manager. I'm not going to even use a pronoun, because if I use a pronoun, everyone will know who it is. But I had a manager, and this person and I were talking at a party, and
Mm-hmm.
the person said, "Yeah, I had a really rough night last night, so I ate a box of Oreos." And I was like, "Ha ha." And then I was like, "Are
Yeah.
you serious? You
Like
ate an entire box of
box of
Oreos?" And this person
uh-huh.
said, "Yes, I ate a whole box of Oreos," but looked at me kind of strangely, like, "Haven't you?" And I'm like,
Mm.
"No, I've never eaten a box of Oreos. That sounds disgusting." And or
Uh,
any box of cookies, like that. Just I don't even know how you'd even do that. But since then I've learned that many people do that. Many people just eat a
the
box of,
emotional eaters,
or
yes.
yeah. so,
Yeah, yeah,
so where does that come
yeah.
from?
No,
Like
again, like you
where's
said,
that animal coming
like
from?
so that's the most primitive brain, right? It's the primitive brain. And as you know, if you look at human evolution, it's the part of the brain that kind of just takes over. You're not saying, okay, do I need to keep my heart beating? Do I need to keep breathing? Those kind of things are happening on its own. So when we feel even a whiff of stress, we get back to like the most primitive part of the brain, which you're calling the animal brain, takes over. Like there's nothing you can take. You forget about using your rationale about I shouldn't be eating those. That is not working at that time, because some people call it the amygdala hijack, or like the
Mm,
primitive part of your brain just hijacks that center. And that's what also is what happens when people have PTSD, so to speak, right? Like you get a trigger, from my own experience, I knew like, okay, if I'm going into this situation, I'm going to probably respond this way. I don't want to, but when I would be there, like I had no control. Like it was just like that part of my brain was hijacked, and that instinct is really just trying to keep us alive, and keep
oh,
us alive,
interesting.
because that's the first instinct, is to keep myself, protect myself, and keep myself alive. Once I have that, then maybe I can think intuitively and creatively. And that's the whole thing. There's no tigers, nobody's killing us. But the moment we start feeling like somebody's attacking our identity, something like my relationship's going, I'm going to fail, anything like that gives, it elicits the same response. It gets that, the primitive part of our brain to take over. And then we are at the mercy of our emotions, right? Like the emotions take over. We don't know. We eat. Sometimes how I would respond is I would say things that I don't want to say. I
Oh,
were
really?
which oh God, like
Wow, that sounds like
it
fun.
would just like I don't want. No, it wasn't fun. It was so
I gotta check
painful.
this out. Okay.
It was so painful. I would say things that I didn't want to say, and I knew I was going to say them, but I just like it was.
Wow,
I had
that's
to
awesome.
like. That's not awesome. It was
No, that is
like when
awesome.
you
That
go
is
to
so. I can't wait to see this part of you.
like,
I have
oh
to figure out
God,
what
like who would
stresses
have
are gonna. This is gonna be interesting. We're gonna spend a lot
oh
of time together the next couple of years. So it'll come at some point. You're gonna say something to me, and I'll be like, "Oh, there. That's what that is." Okay, I got
yeah.
it.
Oh well, I hope not, but yeah, but I think
No,
I'm like
everyone eventually says something like that to me. Trust me, it always comes. It's just a
oh
matter of time. Well, so
oh no
and there
no
is this like other model, and again, I think I'm not sure we've talked about this or not, but there's this model of controlling your actions, controlling your words, and controlling your thoughts, right? And
mm-hmm.
so classically, we should strive, and those are, I think, in order of difficulty. So striving to control your actions is something that I think most of us in kind of professional settings are pretty good at. Right. So someone says something that you find offensive or you find upsetting or you find ridiculous or whatever, you don't strike them, right? You don't like slap them or, throw something at them. Maybe
Like,
you're like, interesting comment. And you think to yourself, wow, what an idiot. But you don't actually say that out loud.
say that.
And because that's the second level is controlling your words. Now, it sounds like for you, controlling the words may start to be the thing where leakage occurs, right? Which is, you
Not
might say,
anymore.
wow, that is,
Like
you are an idiot.
That
Not anymore. Okay, we'll see. I'll push you a bit.
that was my PTSD response. Like I got when I would get like stressed, like really stressed, then I wouldn't like be able to, or like my heart rate would just go through the roof. I would start breathing and like I would imagine the worst. I would imagine the worst and then behave in a way which would be say words that were defensive, which wasn't really called for. But that's a whole different thing. But talk about like having control over, I think it's hard. Can you control your thoughts? Let's try this. Let's try
that's
this.
the next level, right? Control your thoughts. And I think actually, I'm feeling really good about actions. I haven't struck anyone in anger in a long time. Sorry, Morgan. So and then that's my brother. He was fine. And then controlling your words. Actually, I would say that's something I have been working on. And I feel very good about that now. I think when I'm confronted by stuff, I think I'm very good now at sort of like processing it, not reacting immediately. And there's lots of times people will say things to me where I'll be like, well, boy, this is like, and then and I've not always been good at that. So this is something where I'm much better. And I generally avoid email, which is where I still potentially get myself into trouble. But I just don't use email anymore. I found that's helped a lot. The thing that I'm working at, sometimes seriously, sometimes if you just can't fix it, just stop using it. Everyone's much happier. But the thoughts thing I'm actually working on, and there's something in particular which is pretty personal, so I can't really talk about it here. But there is something that has been kind of banging on the door of my brain for the last maybe couple months, I guess. It was kind of coincident with the knee surgery, actually, and I've like at first I was just letting it wash over me, and then kind of having all the feels that go with it. But lately I've been like, I gotta like manage that thought. I don't think that thought is correct, or I want to reframe that thought or contextualize that thought or provide perspective around that thought for myself versus just letting myself be the victim of my own thoughts. And I find that that's actually been remarkably effective. And so I'm working a lot on that. And and I think if you can get to a point of controlling your thoughts, it's a lot easier to control your words and actions. Right?
I agree.
Typically say stupid things when you haven't got your thoughts sort of set. And then you'll say things sometimes that are hurtful or dumb or insensitive or, not thought through and stuff like that. And so I'm kind of trying to get to that level if I can. And I think that leads to a happier life.
No, totally. And actually for the normal average person, it's very, very hard. You cannot manage the mind from the level of the mind. Like if I tell you, okay, Grad, close your eyes, think about anything in the whole world except for your bear. And the image that might pop up, like what pops up? Like the bear pops up, right? Exactly. So it's kind of like hard to manage the mind from the level of the mind. And if you resist the thought, it's going to keep coming back with a vengeance. I love the bear, by the way. He's cute.
So just because people can't see us, right? Because we can see each other, but they can't see us because we're just audio. So what Neha is talking about is on my desk right behind me, I have a little FAO Schwartz bear that my girlfriend bought for me. And he's got like a little tail jutting out of his pants. It's pretty cool, right? And it says FAO Schwartz on the paw, the bottom of the paw.
He looks pretty dapper.
And he's wearing a little top hat and a little jacket. It's kind of like almost like a ringleader. And he definitely looks very dapper. So, but you're right. As soon as you say don't think about anything but the bear, you're right. That's all I'm going to think about is the bear. And and that's the mind is hard to manage from the mind. I love that expression.
And that's where the breath comes in. And when if you really actually want to get to the level of mastery that you were talking about, where it's not so much about controlling thoughts, the more you're going to try to control them, it's going to be so much effort. And we're somehow wired that, oh, I have to put effort. Thoughts just come up. They just come up, just like waves in a freaking ocean. Like, it's tied to there's so many reasons why certain thoughts come up. And there's a whole lot to talk about that. But thoughts just come up, just like bubbles in water. And so the idea is, to get, like, the breath is the tool. The breath is the tool. It's not about trying to shove those thoughts away or to invite thoughts away. Like, if you really want to get to that equilibrium, it's about being in that state of observation without attaching any meaning to any thought. It's just a thought. And if you let that thought, if you keep chewing on the thought, it becomes, now you start to feel something about it. And when you start to feel something about it, then you again have some thoughts about what you should and should not do, and then you start to act a certain way. But the first moment the thought springs up, it just could be like, oh, here's one bubble, and here's another bubble, and here's another bubble. It's only when you take that thought and the mind keeps going and chewing on it, that's when it starts to turn into an emotion, a feeling. So it's about, like, it's very hard for normal people to say, okay, no thoughts, no thought. Like, if you've ever tried to sleep and you're not being able to sleep and you're like, okay, no, Grad, sleep, you're going to be awake, right? Forget about sleeping. So the more you tell the mind to do something, the less it does it. So that's where the breath comes in, and it's a really, really handy tool. And like, if this is the middle of the night, your Pilates studios is not open, you can get back to your breath. And I think it's like I've spent a lot of time with, people who've been meditating for a long time. And it's not about resisting the thoughts. It's about getting to a level of comfort where, whether it's a positive thought or whether it's a negative thought, you're able to not cling to either of those.
Well, let's stay on that for a second. That's a very interesting comment. And I do agree with you, by the way. I mean, I do find that doing a breathing exercise and meditation exercise, if for some reason I'm having trouble sleeping, is very helpful. But this particular thing that happened to me a couple months ago, happened to me is not quite the right word. This particular thing I learned a couple months ago, it's probably a better way to put it. It's fraught with potential issues, right? And so I was talking to my therapist. I'm a big believer in therapy as well. A reasonably new convert to it, but and he was saying, well, can you imagine yourself never mentioning this? And I'm like, yeah, I can. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah, I could probably like never bring this up, never mention it. He goes, well, okay. He said, that wasn't, I don't think it was the answer he was expecting. And he said, the research shows that the more you suppress something, this is your point you're making, the more you suppress something, the bigger a deal it becomes over time. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, you might be in a situation of stress or anger, or maybe you had too many glasses of wine or whatever, and then this thing pops out and it comes out in a not particularly productive way, right? Mm-hmm. And so his general recommendation is, he thinks I should talk about it, but I don't know. I'm actually because I also find that sometimes like stuff like this can be hurtful, because once it's out there, you can't pull it back in, right? Mm-hmm. And so I am trying to see if I can't control the thought in a way that I just don't have to ever bring it up.
So I think you're trying to control. See, the thought is there. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, when you say I'm trying to control, maybe there's this desire to not have that thought anymore or not act on that thought. And the more you try to keep resisting it for a longer period of time, maybe some emotion will start getting attached to it. Now you're getting maybe frustrated over a period of time, or there's something building up. I would recommend journal. You don't have to put it out there. Like, journaling is a really good leadership tool to build emotional quotient. Bring those, things that are brewing in your subconscious and unconscious mind and put it out on the paper and get clarity around it. Like, get to the heart of the matter. What is causing that thought to pop up back and back? Like, what is really gnawing at you? Because if it's been around for a long time, something's going on there. Something within you is kind of saying, okay, Crad, this is not fun. This is not happening. Something's going on. Something's like there is some energy behind that thought. So I would get clarity on what that is. And then you can reframe that, because until you sort of understand the fundamental issue there, the reframing is not going to work. You give yourself logical reasons that, okay, this isn't a good idea, it's not good for me to do this. But even if you don't act somewhere internally, it's causing a biochemical change in your system.
Yeah, well, that's good coaching, actually. Because the thing about journaling that's interesting, and I had gotten, I mean, I'm always a little bit nervous about starting to write because it inevitably turns into a blog post with me. But so that could potentially be a real problem. But I'd say that the act of writing, what I have always found fascinating is the act of writing is you take a lot of disassociated thoughts that are sort of unformed, or they may seem formed to you, but when you try to actually express them on paper, they are less formed, right? You see, oh my gosh, this is really messy thinking. And then the writing forces you to put more structure around it and maybe sort of have some more context. So I do actually, that's a really good piece of advice. Maybe I'll try that actually. The only thing is, once you start writing stuff down, then it's written down, then it can get discovered.
No, and so here's what I do with that. I write it in a way that nobody else can read it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
this
really?
is for me. This is my personal journal. Okay, this is not an article I'm putting for something I want to put out in a blog post or something. But like I write, like generally, I have the benefit of having a really messy handwriting, and then I just curve it a little bit more so that people, like, even if somebody did get their hands on it, they wouldn't be able to make out what the whole thing is.
Really?
So it's for
maybe
you,
like do
or just
shorthand
write
or something.
Or just write it out and then burn it. Or it's just to get it out of your system and get clarity for yourself, And I think that would really kind of, that's very helpful. And there's a lot of neuroscience behind it, but it'll really help because I think there's more than that than you're logically thinking about, the way you're thinking about it right now.
That's very cool. Well, speaking of burn it, I just got a fire pit.
Oh,
so
you did?
My whole life I've wanted a fire pit. I've never had one. Finally said, that's enough of this. Got a propane fire pit. It's right beside the pool. And last night, my girlfriend got home super late from a party in Miami and with her other girlfriend. So they were like, I don't know what's going on there, but they all came home like about 11:45. At least they got home. And, and so,
thank God.
Yeah, thank God. And they seemed reasonably sober. But I greeted them with marshmallows and little extendable forks. And we went in the backyard and we had a marshmallow roast at midnight by the pool. And it was actually one of those things. It was quite magical. Like we had this new umbrella that's got little LEDs in it, so that was lit up, and the stars were in the sky. It was like God! It was a pretty new moon.
Sounds like a resort.
Yeah, well, the pool. I just got a pool light put in, so the pool's all lit up, and yeah, it was crazy. Actually,
Damn.
It was like we could have been in Hawaii or something like that. It was amazing. And then we roasted marshmallows on this fire pit, and it was. And I would say that the thing for me and they try to do this a lot, and sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't, but there are these like moments you can grab that like you don't expect them, right? Like I'll remember that for forever. It was like that just momentary magical moment, and it wasn't even that long, and it wasn't that complicated to do, and it created a really neat memory that I think is important to create, that sometimes we lose in our daily rush to get everything else done.
Yeah, no, and the best part about such moments are because you don't expect them. They're like, there's just so much like, whoa, they blow your mind away. I hear you. By the way, you have to invite Randy and I to your is this your backyard or whatever, like your pool party? We've got to do something.
Yeah, you should. Well, I'll get you out to Florida, and we'll have to do that. Probably it's starting to get a little hot. Probably when I come back in the fall, I'm going to have surgery on my right leg. And
my God, so many surgeries.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to stop that.
Yeah. It's getting kind of addictive, actually. And then maybe you two can come down and we can kind of hang out at the pool because I'll be wheeling around there and it'll be great. And it'll be super fun. It's a nice time of year to be here. So
Gotta check
yeah, it'll
out
be
your
great.
backyard.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's getting pretty good actually. The backyard's got one more thing left, and then it's going to be super super awesome.
It
Well, this
sounds
has been really
amazing.
fun. It is
Mm-hmm.
amazing actually. Yeah, I mean, Florida's great. I never lived here before, and it's extraordinary. I don't know why people make fun of Florida. It's incredible here. It's like living in paradise. It's
Really?
like the
Wow.
greatest thing ever. Yeah, I don't. People are
I
like
mean,
off their rocker making fun of this place.
really? I mean, it's weird, but every person I know has a house in Florida. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
maybe I need
I
to go
see
check it
why.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been super fun. What do you want? What do you want to leave people with something today? Do you want to do a two
So
minute breath
yeah.
exercise just to get people
Yeah.
wound into the week?
Yeah, let's do that. And I just also want to quickly wrap up the thing that we started with. Like, why do
Yeah.
people procrastinate? And I would say it's not just because you're not, you don't feel like it's not that you're being lazy. I would invite you to journal about it and get to the root cause. Maybe there's some fear there. Maybe you're like, there's something more than just laziness. Mostly procrastination is not just a laziness problem. So I
Hmm.
invite you to journal and kind of
That's a
get
good
that
question.
subconscious, unconscious thoughts out on the paper. And with that, let's do some breathing. And
All
today
right.
I want to, we've not done the super brain breath, have we?
Nope.
No. So we're going to do the super brain breath. And what it is bring your thumb to the base of your little finger and wrap the four fingers around your thumbs. So it's a closed fist. And place the fists on your thighs. And the fists are facing the ceiling. So fists facing the ceiling, shoulders relaxed, spine straight, neck relaxed. And on my count, we'll be breathing in and out of the nose. And if you can, keep your attention in your head and brain region. And if that's hard for some of us, it's okay. Just keep your attention on your breath. Okay, so it's equally effective. So let's start. Simply sit easily and comfortably. Take a deep breath in. And breathe out. Exhale, relax. And for the super brain breath through the nose, breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. Keep your focus in the head region or on your breath. And as you breathe out, pull your navel in, breathe out for a little longer. Your tension is still in the head region or on your breath. And continue, breathe in. Keep your body relaxed as you're breathing in till your collarbones lift up. And as you exhale, gently pull the navel in, breathe out for a little longer. We'll do just 5 more rounds. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, till your collarbones lift up. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last 2, breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, last 1. Full breath in till your collarbones lift up. And as you exhale, pull the navel in. Breathe out for a little longer. And relax. Let the breath return to normal. Keep your eyes closed for a moment. You can release your fists. And just bring your attention inwards. And notice the state of your mind. Notice the impact of the breathing on the body, if any. And just feeling very grateful for this breath, this body that keeps us alive. Breathe in. Bring your palms together, rub them, and place them on your eyes. Let the eyes absorb the heat and relax. When you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes. Have a great week ahead, and we'll catch you on the next episode, I guess, right? Next week.
Yeah, Neha, that was awesome. All right. Well, everybody, this
Thank
is
you.
the CXM experience with Neha, the Breath Yogi. And we are going to be back with interviews the rest of the week. For the CXM experience, I'm Grad Khan, CXO at Sprinkler, and I will see you next time.